Hi, this is Critical Discussions, episode 13, and today we're talking about explosion on Crimean bridge, about revenge, about massive airstrikes that Russia launched after the explosion on Crimean bridge. We're also talking about stupid shit that Elon Musk said about Ukraine, about this whole situation, the whole war, and we'll cover a few other topics. Let's just start right from the main topic, the explosion on Crimean Bridge, which came on 8th of October, and it came one day, like the next day after Putin's 75th birthday, um, which was basically gift, I guess, from whoever has done this explosion. And let's just quickly sort of cycle through several basically ideas or several theories that people have about who's done it, and I'll just go like straight and say that I don't quite think that it's done by Ukraine, because I mean it could be, it could very well be done by Ukrainian, some sort of special forces diversion kind of a group, some kind of a covert operation. I'm not really sure. The truck was driving from the territory of Russia. There are a lot of basically measures that's supposed to be taken for all the trucks that kind of enter that bridge. One of them is basically this sort of like a inspection point. It has like a massive X-ray, and like people like usually can understand what's inside of it, right? So I don't know. I don't know if Ukrainian, some sort of special force diversion group, like I'm saying, would be able to actually account for all of the things to go right for them, for this truck to actually be on that bridge. Plus, some people also kind of say that it's basically Ukraine who's done the explosions on the Nord Stream pipeline, which is also kind of fucking nonsense. Right now, the investigation is ongoing, so there are no evidence presented as of yet, but I'm pretty sure when they will be presented, because there are teams right now who are investigating it from Europe, and we will learn that it was Russia who's done it. It was Russia who's behind this act of terror, basically exploding the critical sort of gas infrastructure, critical to Europe gas infrastructure. And then, so like those events are not like really spaced apart. And now, like this explosion on Crimean Bridge, if anything, I feel like this is my personal opinion. I feel like the FSB, which is Russian Federal Service of Security or something like that, whatever, basically like FBI or something like that. I feel like this is and that's the fucking successor of KGB. Basically, you can think of it in that term. This is like modern day KGB. These are the people who put Putin in power. This is who Putin is, a former KGB bureaucrat, really, but still, like he came from that part, from that kind of special service in Russia, and those people were, throughout the history of Russia, they were like the most notorious pieces of shit, really, the KGB. And now the whole Russia basically is run by a KGB agent, by a FSB agent, by that fucking agency mostly. So if anything, I think that a lot of people are not happy with Putin anymore. A lot of people are not happy with Putin in terms of obviously like oligarchs and whatnot, because they can't fucking just steal and be corrupt as always, and just make a shit ton of money doing some projects, infrastructure projects like construction, so on and so forth. But also there are a lot of people, I feel like at least, who are not happy anymore with Putin inside of the KGB, inside of FSB, because I feel like I don't know if there's any validity to it, but I feel like since he was not able to win this war against Ukraine, and since he will not be able, it's completely understood right now by everybody right now who has two working brain cells, that Russia has lost this war. It's lost this war like 6 months ago, when it couldn't capture 7 months now, but probably when it couldn't capture Kiev, when it actually met the resistance, and when actually European and the United States partners, allies started to help Ukraine. So now it's just a matter of time how long the regime will last, how long this war will continue, how many more civilian people would have to suffer and would have to die. That's the only kind of variables, I guess you can say, because the war is lost, and so I feel like the powerful people behind Putin, because I don't think like in other words, I feel like there are kind of undercover, behind the scenes sort of wars that are going on right now that we don't know about, and we mostly don't hear about, because these are the people who stay in the shadows, really. And I feel like there are people who want to just get rid of Putin, basically put him on a sacrificial as a sacrificial lamb, basically, to the gods of Europe, basically America, whatever, and say like, look, it was all his fault, we're deeply sorry, it's not gonna happen ever again. And they will probably find another cunt from KGB who will be put in place of Putin, basically, which will not be good by any means for the whole world and for Ukraine and so on and so forth, because in the long term, I'm pretty sure that fucking ambitions, this like empire ambitions and so like, all the kind of old shit, I'm pretty sure is gonna stay there in the minds of some morons from KGB. However, at least that would be sort of a short-term solution in a sense. But that's just my speculation. So what I think is happening right now is basically Putin's own FSB, KGB starts to basically get rid of him. I don't know, like if he ordered, probably he ordered actually the explosion of Nord Stream pipeline, gas pipeline. This one, I'm not sure if he actually knew about this. If they, why I think this is kind of a not really, doesn't look like it's Ukraine to me anyway. First of all, and this is the thing that I don't get, like why nobody's talking about it, why nobody discussed this at all. So this truck that blew up on the bridge, which presumably it was the truck that that had a lot of like explosive materials inside. First of all, like who is the driver? Who is the driver, and did he know about this whole thing? If he didn't know, you're telling me that Ukraine, who's been, at least from what I can see from the information I can gather, who's trying to basically participate, if you can say, in this war, by being kind of more humane and civil, if you will. Obviously, understandably, it's a war, and then when people die from both sides, and inevitably Ukrainians will shoot Russians on the battlefield, so on and so forth, in direct contact with rifles, automatic rifles, whatever. But if they use like airstrikes, Ukrainians, it's very precise. It's only on the like basically military objects, usually there are not a lot of like civilian casualties, and not a lot of even personnel casualties, to be honest, because they've been killing a lot of not killing, they've been basically targeting and exploding a lot of like ammo depots, for example, and so on, like things like that. um so going back to the driver, did the driver know? If the driver didn't know about what he's carrying, this feels to me very anti-Ukrainian, because they would be basically saying, not saying, but they would be basically doing, they would be basically putting man's life, like a man who is not like a soldier or anything like that, they would be basically saying internally he will die. And that just doesn't sit well with me just in general as a principle. Yes, he is driving via the occupant territory, on the occupied territory, via the bridge that is basically like a military object, because it's been used since the beginning of this war, this invasion, this part of the invasion, of Russian invasion. It's been used to supply things to Crimea, military things, freaking oil, diesel, to power all the tanks and whatnot. Tanks, all the military equipment, a lot of it anyway. And so, like, it's an understandable sort of, if some sort of were of a HIMARS or other big missile landed on the bridge, in that moment somebody was crossing the bridge, and then it's a casualty. But knowingly basically kill a man even before he's dead, by like just launching him on this like suicide mission without him knowing this just feels so wrong and sits so like weird with me. This just doesn't feel right at all. And I don't know, like, if this some sort of special forces in Ukraine would be so ruthless to actually do this, to basically sign a death will basically for this man. I don't know, probably. Not sure. However, I can definitely name a country that does not care about any civilians, not theirs, not in other countries. And the country is called Russia. And cunts who definitely don't care about human lives are KGB shit. All the scums who try to poison and successfully did poison people in other countries, poison Navalny, all this kind of stuff, like people who routinely bomb cities in Ukraine, kill hundreds and thousands of civilians. They wouldn't care about sending a man on a suicide mission without him knowing this. They don't care about some other casualties that apparently like 3 people died in a car that's been that's basically been eviscerated, like it was next to the truck on that bridge. So I feel like it's been done by FSB themselves. And this, I feel like it's been done by Russia themselves, because, like I've said, I feel like they're trying to play, somebody in Russia is trying to play some game. That's just my like feeling, gut feeling. Just simply because of the fact that, like, or like, I could understand if this driver, like for example, Ukraine contacted this driver, right? Or not this driver, but in general, found a person who has like stage 4 cancer or something like that, and who is sympathizing with Ukraine, who understands that he's on the last legs and he's gonna die soon, and this is his like good way out in a way, right? I cannot like, this is the only circumstance I would feel like could be justified. for like Ukrainian side to actually say, okay, you do this, because otherwise, like I'm saying, otherwise, if this person did not know what he's carrying, did not know that this explosion uh, will occur while he would be driving through this bridge, this is just literally sending a person who's not an military by any means, at least from my understanding, that was a civilian, just sending him to death. That just doesn't sit right with me whatsoever. I understand that like somebody from like Ukrainian side, whatever, could say like, yeah, it's a war and like fucking Russia bombs shit ton of our cities every day and a lot of civilians die. But this is different. One thing is like by chance you are being in the area where some like kind of a missile rocket lands, and another thing is somebody deliberately decides that they will send this man without him knowing this to death. This is just so wrong, so deeply wrong on so many levels, that I don't really think that this, at least if this is how it was done, if that man did not know what he was carrying, I don't think it's done by Ukraine. And if it was done by Ukraine, and if it was done exactly in this manner, that the person did not know his faith, and his faith was decided by some cunts, I feel like that should be also investigated, and those who made that decision should be prosecuted, because they sent knowingly and willingly a civilian person to death. This should not be overlooked, and I don't think, and I don't understand why nobody's talking about this, because this is like, to me, this is like one of the most important thing, because if the person didn't know, I don't give a fuck about this stupid bridge. Like, yeah, it's a fucking happy birthday to Putin, sort of. But again, like, from whom? Like, you obviously, like, it looks like it's probably more likely that Ukraine did this. But at the same time, by the same fucking logic, like, why would Russia blow up the Nord Stream? Well, because Russia wants to say fuck you to Europe, not Russia. Like, Putin himself specifically wants to say fuck you to Europe. That's why. And here it could be somebody inside Russia wants to say fuck you to Putin. So once again, like, just the timeline. The timeline, by the way, let's talk about the timeline. FSB, in the best fucking, in the best wishful fucking unicorn land, in just like, so they did not prevent this as they call it, act of terrorist act, which is not, because it's not really. It's a war, whatever. And technically, Crimea is a territory of Ukraine, occupied territory of Ukraine. So technically, they can do whatever the fuck they want there. And if they want to explode something that they didn't build there, they can do it. If they did it, actually, yeah, if they killed somebody in the process, somebody should be responsible for this and should be punished for it. Like I'm saying, if it was willingly, knowingly. However, so FSB said that they, like, in just a couple days, right? Like in like 3 or 4 days, they've already found like 8 people who presumably have done it. Like, some of them are Ukrainian citizens, some of them are Armenian citizens, Georgian, some Russians, like sympathizers to Ukraine, whatever. I call it a fucking giant bullshit, and that's why I feel like this leads me to believe that it was done by Russia themselves. It was done by somebody in FSB. Because once again, let's talk about this thing. So, how FSB is saying that this bomb, which just a bomb, right? Not like a shit ton of explosive, because just a one bomb, which one bomb, it's supposed to be like a 2 ton or like a ton at least, something like that. So, it's been delivered from Odessa through Bulgaria to Georgia and Armenia, all or masked as a construction, like a film or whatever. So let's just take a trip. Let's just take a trip to the map. So from Odessa, we're going to Bulgaria. Then from Bulgaria, we're going to Georgia, to did they say Georgia? Yeah. To Georgia. Then, for some reason, we go into Armenia. And then somehow from Armenia, we are getting to Russia, which does not have, as far as I know, the border with Russia. So already this does not line up whatsoever. Second thing is that once again, FSB sort of did this, uncovered this whole whatever thing, just in 3-4 days. Do you know what was? Do you know what's happened? What happened after explosion in Minsk? The year was what, like 2010, 2010, 2011, something like that. People who supposedly organized that terrorist act in Minsk were found in like 2-3 days. And by the way, in Belarus there is still KGB, and they don't even change the name. It's fucking KGB. They found supposedly those who did this in just a couple days or wherever. And by the way, they executed those people, most likely just innocent people. And president, aka dictator, aka potato fur, aka fucking mustache cunt, Lukashenko, was on the at the event at that subway, like a half an hour after explosion. Please tell me, why would you be at the place of explosion half an hour later after the explosion occurred? Maybe like 1 hour, doesn't matter really, doesn't change the whole narrative. What if there's another explosion? What if it's the whole plot to actually get you there, or get like maybe as many of this like police and like maybe KGB, whatever, right? And then detonate something even bigger, right? Like, how can you make sure in less than an hour that everything is clean and secure for the head of the country to actually be there? I can tell you how. If it's done internally by some fucking of those KGB cunts. That's how you make sure that there will be no other explosives. And that's exactly what's happened what happened in Belarus, like I'm saying, 2010, 2011, somewhere there. Because problems in Belarus were rising, tensions were rising between society and this fucking cunt dictator. And what's the best fucking way to change the narrative? Some terrorist act, a war, explosion, some shit like that, to distract people from actual problems inside of the country and distract people from the dictator. Not once before, not once after, nothing like that has happened really here in Belarus. So, and after that, dictator just became dictator. Like, that's it. Like, I mean, before he was already dead, but after that, it like really, like, that's it. That's when the country was lost. And so here, I think, is happening exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Once again, like, to make this diversion, if we are to be believed, to believe that FSB actually uncovered these people, this terrorist group in like fucking 4 days. So they send from Odessa to Bulgaria, from Ukraine to Bulgaria to Georgia, then to Armenia for some reason, and then somehow you're getting to Russia. Excuse me, what? That doesn't make any fucking sense. None. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. So, yeah, I feel like, and this, I feel like somebody inside Russia is playing Putin hard, just playing him hard right now. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. We will see how it all uncovers, unfolds, but this is what is happening. I feel like and by the way, which is also something really interesting, is that it was Ministry of Transportation and the securities of Ministry of Transportation who were in charge of security of this bridge, right? They were in charge of checking all these things, whatever. Now, as far as I've heard. Putin actually gave the reins basically to FSB to be actually in charge of the security of this bridge. So, look at this. Somebody at FSB does this explosion. After this explosion, they have even more power, basically. Putin trusts them even more, starts to rely more and more on them. At some point, he will be like somebody at FSB will have a lot of power, a lot of control over Putin. I'm just saying. I feel like this is exactly what's happening. Because there were videos, right, that presumably with this truck that Russian trash fucking media, whatever mesh, somehow got. The fact that we got so many leaks right away, like, first of all, yeah, there is a lot of like problem with corruption in Russia and so on and so forth, right? So that's one thing. But to rely on just on corruption and that this giant thing will not be checked at all and will not go through the usual security gate with this like X-ray and everything. If you are carrying this like a ton or like 2 tons of explosives, your whole like sort of plan relies on the fact that, okay, you're gonna bribe like 1 or 2 guards or whatever. What if there's like a change in shift? What if like a couple more people are there and you can't really like escape going through this X-ray terminal, whatever. I don't really understand the logistics there. But from my understanding, I thought like all of the cars must go through this sort of gates for this X-ray. Apparently not. I don't really understand this. But it feels like to me, the inside job would have been much easier to accomplish, because then you can just order personnel, whatever, to just leave the truck, like whatever, don't really check it. And yeah, I'm just saying, I feel like that was inside job by somebody at FSB, by some cons in Russia who are like behind the scenes are trying to create something. I feel like there are moves and motions right now to remove, basically get rid of Putin, basically from to the wolves, as they say, right? I feel like, I'm not sure really, not sure about that last part, but I feel like it was not an operation by Ukrainian forces. But we will see, I guess, as it happens with these things. Sooner or later, like, some truth will come out, or more information will come out. Maybe somebody of the guards or somebody, if that footage was to be believed. So there were people who were looking at this truck. There were people who actually, there was a person who looked inside of it, just very briefly, but whatever. So these people will speak out, some, if they will not be killed, obviously, before that, but there will be some more information, basically, eventually, which we will learn. And I think we're gonna learn that it was indeed Russia who's done it. Somebody in Russia, not Putin himself, obviously said, oh, yeah, do this explosion or whatever. But somebody in, yeah. And also it might make sense for Russia themselves to do, because there is this like really giant cunt called General Surovikin, who is now like a commander-in-chief of army, basically. And right, like the day after this explosion, or 2 days after this explosion, Ukraine was attacked massive airstrikes on the territory of Ukraine. So by doing kind of this false flag operation, the Surovikin guy or some other people in Ministry of Defense, which is, oh my god, this is in Russian army, were able to basically massively airstrike Ukraine. Before that, they didn't do it. then suddenly they have found a pretense, some sort of justification for really massive airstrikes. I think um, I think the amount of rockets launched onto territory of Ukraine, onto Ukrainian cities, civilian infrastructure, killing dozens of just civilian people. So the amount was like, I think, close to 100 rockets or something like that, missiles, and around half of them, I think, were reported to be intercepted by air defense systems, but more than half, or around half, landed. So let's just talk about this. Let's talk about sort of the response from Putin. So once again, like I'm saying, I feel like he's been set up basically by somebody at his own like KGB, whatever shit, FSB, or in conjunction maybe with army. So he was, I think, set up. This explosion on the Crimean bridge was a inside job to basically justify using even more force on Ukraine, in Ukraine, and launching even more airstrikes onto Ukrainian territory. So, yeah, a lot of people died. More than 10 people, I think, during the shell. And this is insane because Russia is a terrorist state. It should be recognized by the whole world, by United Nations, as a terrorist state, because this is they're not doing anything on the battlefield. In fact, they're losing heavily on the battlefield. And instead they're launching rockets onto cities, on Kiev, Lvov, Dnipro, in basically like in all of the regions of Ukraine. I think the strikes were conducted basically onto all the regions of Ukraine, as far as I understand. And also Russia was basically targeting a lot of energy infrastructure, which is, again, this doesn't accomplish anything really in terms of military sort of advancements. Military doesn't do anything basically to change the battlefield. All it does is just a terror against civilians, against population of Ukraine. That's it. To leave them without electricity, to leave them without water. It doesn't do anything to change the battlefield. And in fact, if anything, that does the opposite. People are getting more and more mad. People are getting mad at Russia, obviously. And also, people in Europe are looking at this and they're saying, okay, we're going to increase our support for Ukraine. Which is actually exactly what happened in terms of Germany, for example. Germany actually sent air defense system to Ukraine. Actually delivered to Ukraine. IRIS-T, air defense system. They've actually said that, okay, we're gonna expedite this process and we're gonna deliver this IRIS-T system like real soon. And then like a couple days later, they actually delivered. And Alexei Reznikov said that a new era of air defense has begun in Ukraine. IRIS-Ts from Germany are already here. I think like one of this system only there. So it's not a lot. Ukraine obviously like really needs right now air defense systems. And from United States, NSMs are coming apparently. And yeah, so if anything, by launching those strikes onto Ukraine, is absolutely indiscriminatory, awful fucking things. Like look at these pictures, right? Like, if you have the video version of this podcast, it's like a business center and there's just normal regular buildings there. There's nothing fucking military about this, and yet it was hit by a missile. Like, this is just unbelievable. And it's unbelievable that United Nations does not still recognize Russia, Putin's Russia, as a fucking terrorist state. Because it is exactly what it is. It is a fucking terror against people of Ukraine, against civilians. Because on the battlefield, Russia is losing and losing fucking heavily. Heavily. And instead of, I mean, they're trying to mobilize people and whatnot, right? But yeah, instead, what all they can do is just to file missiles, enormous, giant missiles. This is just so fucking tragic. This is so fucking tragic. Children's playground. What kind of a fucking what kind of a military object is that? It is so insane. Just in Zaporozhye, just a regular house with people. 16 people dead, more than 100 injured. This is just insane. In Dnieper as well, the missile just lands on the fucking on a road where just the traffic goes. Somehow, interestingly and luckily enough, people in the bus did not. I think nobody died in that bus, even though this like massive explosion happened just like 10 meters in front of it. And what's even more interesting that the next day, Ukrainians repaired this road and removed basically all the rubble and everything and the road and put an asphalt over it. The road was basically like never fucking nothing happened there. But some people did die in those explosions. This is just so fucking tragic. This is insane. And all for what? Because once again, it's just civilian infrastructure, it's just civilian cities. It doesn't do anything to change the battlefield. That's all while in Germany, apparently, were few diversions on like a German railway. Somebody like cut some sort of optical cables or something like that, and there are sort of suspicions that it might have been done by some Russian sort of special forces, covert forces, right? Something like that. Which is yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's just like wherever Russia is, there's basically there's terror, there's death, there's just destruction. Yeah, that country must cease to exist in its current form. Russia, Russian Federation. It should be split into different, multiple, smaller countries. It should be stripped out of its nuclear weapons, or like severely. Well, no, just strip them from all the fucking nuclear weapons because it's not a fucking safe state. And like I'm saying, it doesn't really matter who is gonna be like after Putin, because most likely it's gonna be some sort of a KGB, FSB, some sort of shit from that um, from that sort of branch. And yeah, unless people like that are in charge of Russia, nothing good will come out of that country. So it should have as little physical sort of power, in terms of ammunition, in terms of weapons, rockets, whatever, as possible, as little as possible. Okay, I've seen some talks about in the West, which is so, I don't know, weird. Basically, speculating about will Lukashenko actually join the like real war with against Ukraine with Russia. My answer is no, he will not, because the second he will basically sign himself a death fucking sentence. Right now, I would say like probably 90% of people below the age of like 35 hate him, despise him. They would never fight for him. Why people do not rebel against dictatorship state right now is because, as we can see from the charts that's been published by Guardian, so Belarus armed forces consist of, let's say, 12,000 people, mostly conscripts, basically untrained, because if anybody knows Russian or Belarusian army, they know it's garbage. So 500 tanks, okay, 330 free self-prepared artillery, okay, some 6,000 special forces, right? Okay, so 12,000 plus 6,000, not even 20,000 people who are supposed to be kind of trained. It's said to have 71 plane, but I don't think there are so many planes in Belarus, and if there are so many planes, I don't think all of them are actually in functional state. But then there are more than 110,000 of state police. 87,000 of them are controlled by interior ministry, which means that, once again, in a country with around 9 million people, there are 110,000 state police officers, those who actually protect regime. So you don't even have 20,000 people in the army, but you have 110,000 police officers, policemen, who serve dictator. That's what they do. This is basically Rosgvardia, OMON, whatever, things like that in Russia, who are protecting the power, the protecting authorities, protecting Putin. Here, they're protecting Lukashenko. They, on a battlefield, won't do anything, and most likely they would not be sent to the battlefield. And 20,000 people, it's not that a lot, really. Especially right now, when Ukraine, first of all, has really good trained army, but most importantly, very good long-range weapons. These 20,000 people would fucking be evaporated in a span of whatever month, probably, if even. And so, sending anything from that 20,000 or 12,000, 6,000, whatever, 110,000 would mean lessen the amount of people who will be able to protect him, Lukashenko, right? Fucking usurper of power, dictator, and absolute fucking potato thrower. But also, if you're gonna be like mobilizing people, if you're gonna be conscripting people left and right, means that you're gonna be giving weapons in the hands of people who fucking despise this regime and who hate this regime. And I can guarantee you, a lot of those people will take those weapons and they will point it back at whoever gave them those weapons. Because a lot of people, like I'm saying, despise this regime, hate this fucking regime. And so, like I said, like what people don't understand what it means to live in a dictatorship country and why people don't revolt here is because of this 110,000 fucking police people who will beat you up, who will fucking jail you, and there is still death penalty in this country. And you can't do it all unarmed. But if this potato fucking mustache twat would give weapons to people who fucking despise him and his regime, suddenly it's gonna be, at least somewhat reasonable to assume that some fucking of those police cunts, armed forces, whatever people, will be shot, will be killed by people of Belarus, by opposition in Belarus, by those who now will have weapons to fight against this regime. So that's why Lukashenko is not doing this. He's not fucking stupid. He's not so fucking retarded as Putin, actually. He does understand what's going on in his country. Far better than Putin understands what's going on in Russia, apparently. So yeah, that's why he will. I'm reasonably sure, 95% sure, Lukashenko will not join this war against Ukraine. And even if he does somehow join it with like whatever, like some, as they like report, some sort of joint forces, blah blah blah, it's gonna be like 1,000 or some shit like that. There will never be like this basically nationwide mobilization, call to arms, and go and fight against Ukrainians. Because, like I'm saying, I would probably, like cautionary say that probably like more than 80% of Belarusian people do not support this war, definitely. Well, okay, do not support Lukashenko, first of all. Probably about like 90% don't support this war whatsoever. I guess you can find like probably like 10% of absolutely brain dead fucking people, but there will be like pensioners in like 70 plus who will not be joining the army anyway, who are brainwashed by fucking Russian propaganda. So yeah, I just wanted to say this because I've heard these talks over the past like couple weeks actually, and it's just nonsense. It's a suicide mission basically. So for Lukashenko, and he doesn't look like he has a lot of suicidal tendencies. So yeah, just forget about this. Belarus will not join Russia in this war in any reasonable or meaningful or in fact impactful way. I can almost guarantee you that. Just because this cunt wants to fucking stay in power, whatever, till his fucking last dying breath, because that's how much he fucking loves power. So yeah. Okay, let's just quickly say a few things about like Nord Stream pipeline. Putin said that Russia is ready to resume gas supplies via one link of Nord Stream 2 pipeline that remains operational. Which I didn't notice really is that apparently, oh, and also he said that he is ready to repair, like Russia is ready to repair basically the gas pipelines that exploded, but only in the event that it will be economically justified, basically saying that if Europe will continue to buy our gas, we're gonna repair the pipelines. And that's why I'm saying, like, this cunt ordered the explosion of pipelines. Because look, if Europe will actually budge to this basically pressure, to this request, it means that look, right now some portions of that pipeline are exploded, right? Are not functional. What it means? It means money. It means a lot of Putin's fucking friends can make a shit ton of money once again by rebuilding that shit. Also, like I said, I didn't know that there wasn't one explosion. There was not two explosions. There were actually 3 explosions, apparently. 2 on Nord Stream 1 pipeline, on the old one, and actually 1 explosion on Nord Stream 2 pipeline. I didn't know about that, which is also interesting. So just like look at the hands of a fucking card shooter, we call him, right? Like fucking magician basically. You had a pipeline. I'm saying fuck you Europe for sending money and help to Ukraine. But if you will actually say, okay, I'm sorry Mr. Putin, I'll suck your dick, give us gas back, he's gonna be having a good fucking chat with his mafia buddies and saying, dudes, I just gave you a fucking $5 billion contract out of nowhere. Basically, I just made you money that Russians will pay basically from their taxes, and maybe like whatever Europeans will pay somehow, subsidize whatever. If not, once again Russians will pay for everything. Fucking idiots, because whatever. Yeah. So money for you, fuck you to Europe, and then they beg me to actually do this. This is his plan. He's fucking gopnik. If you don't know what gopnik means, open Wikipedia, read about it, and just learn the fucking mentality of these people. They are this like scumbag fucking filth that will stab you in the back or like cut your fucking ankle from the back or something like do some absolutely fucking disgusting shit behind your back most of the time and will be cherishing those moments. So I really hope that Europe will not make a mistake to actually continue working with this cunt because he does not deserve it whatsoever. So yeah, just wanted to mention this little thing. Also, one thing I wanted to mention is that Putin and Zelensky, both of them, actually agreed to visit Summit G20 in Indonesia. I don't understand how it's gonna go. It's supposedly it's gonna be in November. I actually feel like Putin will cancel last moment because I don't believe this cunt will be able to actually actually visit all the fucking politicians of the world and like look them in the eye, because that you need to understand this is a fucking scared fucking retarded rat, and that's even like being mean to rats. They're actually way nicer than this fucking awful human being. So how can he like come there and Putin, I mean, and know that fucking everybody there will despise him? It's not like meeting with another dictators of like Belarus and fucking China and whatever. No. This is real fucking real people from real good countries. How is he gonna look in the eyes of these people? I can all but guarantee that he will not actually go to this summit. And if he will go, what I would absolutely love to do is for Zelensky to just smack that fucking cunt in the face, to not shake his hand, to just like straight up like a fucking right left, like poof poof. Maybe even better, just take a fucking gun and just shoot that cunt in the face. That would be amazing. Or for international international court, international criminal court in Hague, right? To actually put a warrant on Putin and all his fucking mafia friends, all the fucking cunts who started this war. And the second that cunt lands in Indonesia, to just arrest him, put him into jail, put him on trial, put him behind the bars for forever. That would be amazing. That would be stellar resolution to this fucking shit. That would be amazing. Wishful thinking, I guess, but would be really great. Okay, now let's talk about Elon Musk, because that person apparently just cannot stay out of stupid fucking shit posting. So he posted on October 3rd, 2022. Let's try this then. The will of the people who live in the Donbass and Crimea should decide whether they are part of Russia or Ukraine. Once again, the premise is absolutely fucking brain dead. And yes, 60% of people voted yes, which was more than 2.5 million votes, by the way. So a lot of more than 1 million, what? More than 1,200,000 people are brain dead of his audience. Absolutely brain dead. That's like saying, let people of whatever, California, of Texas, to decide whether they should be a part of United States or not. These decisions are not made by fucking states themselves. This decision is made by the country. Will the country allow you to succeed, basically, to be your own independent state or not? That's not like if I in my house today or tomorrow will decide that I am no longer a part of Belarus, it would mean sweet fuck all with it. Exactly. And Paul Massaro, thankfully there are smart people who immediately came into comment section and say, let's try this then. Russia leaves Ukraine immediately, pays for reparations, decolonizes, demilitarizes, and denuclearizes. Yeah. And then, of course, the fucking morons who just can't, like, oh, America bad, US military interventions worldwide, blah, blah, blah. They can't understand that two wrongs don't make one good thing. And this is talk about Ukraine and woeful misunderstanding, absolutely woeful ignorance of Musk about the fucking situation. Sometimes it's better to fucking stay shut your mouth and don't fucking say anything. Ukraine, Russia, peace, bam, bam, bam. Next fucking tweet. Redo elections of the next regions under United Nations supervision. Russia leaves if that is will of people. Crimea, formerly part of Russia as it has been since 1783 until Khrushchev's mistake. So this moron, like, I had some respect to this guy for SpaceX, for Tesla, PayPal. He founded with other people. Well, not PayPal, but precursor to PayPal, whatever. Sometimes he seems like a smart guy. Sometimes he feels and looks and is an absolutely brain-dead fucking moron. Water supply to Crimea, sure. Ukraine remains neutral. No, this time 60% of people voted no to this. So, which is really interesting, right? Like, by this extension, it should have been 60% of people who votes for that should have voted exactly how they've done the previous one. So whatever. But yeah. And once again, Paul Massara actually saying the correct thing. Ukraine, Russia, peace. Ukraine liberates all its sovereign territory. Russia decolonizes, demilitarizes, and denuclearizes. Exactly. Yeah. Which is really interesting. Keith Post said, Elon, you're a cool guy and thanks for Starlink, but it would be so very wonderful if you were to carry out votes on things that you know about. We don't carry out votes on apartheid and Nelson Mandela. This is exactly the fucking truth. Stay in your fucking line, you cretin. Because by doing this kind of fucking shit, you're just exposing yourself as a fucking moron. Even to me, who kind of admired you for certain things, again, Starlink, Tesla, whatever, SpaceX. But this is like don't, if you don't understand it, like, either stop fucking watching Russia Today and start actually reading and understanding fucking news, like the correct things, or yeah, just fuck off. Why the fuck are you talking about Crimea 1883? Why don't you go to Mongol conquest? Why don't you fucking talk about Crimean basically Tatars who owned the fucking land from 1443 to 1783. Why do we stop at Russian Empire? Why not to give Crimean Tatars back Crimea? Ottoman Empire. Why not? Like, just because Russia still exists and sort of the Ottoman Empire does not exist, it means that you only go to that fucking part? Why not to give Crimea back to Greek or Romans who actually like uncovered it and populated it first? Like, what the fuck is this shit? I just don't understand how you can be simultaneously. I'm assuming you need to be pretty fucking smart to at least like gather enough people around you to actually build things like Tesla and, like I'm saying, all this fucking cool shit that he's done. So how can you be simultaneously so smart and so fucking stupid? I do not get it. I don't understand this. But like I'm saying, why go back to Russian Empire? Why not to Crimean Khanate, Mongol fucking time, or medieval history? So yeah, fuck him for this take, for sure. Okay. Saudi Arabia cut down the production of oil by 2 million barrels per day, which is it's a big fucking amount. And the United States said that they might actually reevaluate sort of our relationship with that country. And by the way, which I don't understand, is so fucking insane that United States sponsors Saudi Arabia, who fucking bombed, who made 9/11 in the United States, if we were to believe the official version, all of that stuff. But they're sponsoring people who made the biggest terrorist act on the fucking territory of United States ever, probably. They're sponsoring this cunts. They're sending a lot of like arms, weapons there, just to basically like put like Iran in check on or that kind of region a little bit in check. It's just so insane that you have to make kind of peace in a way or just like work with absolute disgusting cunts like this fucking Mohammed Ibn whatever fucking cunt name he is. I don't even want to pronounce this shit. People who are literally murdering and butchering independent fucking journalists, well, journalists in general. And you have to deal with these morons. I would just say, if I were Biden, I would just say, like, dude, if you're gonna fucking do this, if you're gonna play into basically Russia's hand, because Russia will be a beneficiary for this, because the less oil will be available, the higher the price will be, the more money will Russia get. Russia will get, the more money they will have to continue the war. Blah blah blah. I would just say, like, dude, you wanna fucking fight this thing? Okay, we're gonna take out all our weapons from your territory, and you're gonna be on your fucking own. And we're gonna basically forbid anybody else to sell you weapons, our weapons or our allies' weapons. Let's see how amazing life would be in that fucking region for you. First of all, you think Russia will come to help you with the fucking garbage shit that they have? First of all, the garbage weapons that they have, and second of all, the garbage weapon that is basically almost non-existent right now already, or dwindling. The amount of it dwindling really really rapidly. So like, who you gonna be fucking supporting? Choose, my fucking great Salman Al Saud fucking friend. But yeah, well, we'll see how this story will develop, because this is when I've seen this news that um, they decided to actually cut the production of oil by so much, exactly at the time when kind of Europe and the whole world kind of sort of needs it. And yeah, it's sort of a kind of a fuck you move, actually. So yeah, I hope United States can leverage its power and actually, um, push this cunt to fucking play by the rules. Okay. Like I said, a lot of energy infrastructure in Ukraine in 2 days of massive airstrikes were damaged, and apparently up to 30% of energy infrastructure were damaged during these massive airstrikes. So yeah, the fucking modern air defense systems are absolutely crucial for security and safety of Ukrainian people. And I just don't get like how fucking people, how countries like Germany can fuck around for so long instead of sending things like the modern things that they have ASAP. ASAP. I don't get it. Okay. Interesting that Mikhail Podolyak, Soviet to the president, actually said that basically that the explosion of Crimean Bridge was whatever, some sort of conflicts inside of Russian special forces, whatever. Yeah, I didn't actually read this, like, but yeah, like I said, I gave you my whole spiel why I think this is actually kind of the case, and I compared it to this like KGB shit in Belarus and whatnot. So it's interesting that pretty smart person in Ukraine also of that notion. I'm not sure if he's just saying this, but yeah, we'll see. Again, like I'm saying, we will see how that story will develop. Just a few more news pieces. Cyprus actually apparently will strip Deripaska and sister of Alisher Osmanov and two more Russian billionaires of golden passports. There are free countries in European Union who allow basically golden passports, and this is Cyprus, Malta, and Bulgaria. And apparently, right now, Cyprus authorities are investigating basically this like golden passport citizenship things, because out of 6,779 foreigners who got that golden passport, 2,886 of them were Russians. And now authorities are checking around 1,100 people, 1,100 people, basically, basically how they can be related to the war in Ukraine, and are they affiliated in any way, shape, or form with the cunts who actually made possible this war, who enabled Putin, all those billionaires, all those fucking oligarchs, whatnot. But yeah, so the this golden passport will be stripped away from Oleg Deripaska. Then the president of the company's Mercury, I'm not really sure what it is, Igor Kisaev, owner of propagandist Komsomolskaya Pravda and media holding media group RBK, which RBK was actually more about like finance and shit for a long time, but I guess recently it kind of switched to and became whatever, another branch of stupid propaganda. Grigory Berezkin and the sister of Alisher Osmanov, Gulbahor Ismailova, who I think she was being like a nominal owner of like this giant like super yacht of Alisher Osmanov. I'm not really sure. And also 11 people who are being like dependent on them, basically, which is good. This is how you should strip away fucking discounts of the of this citizenships, bought citizenships, of their assets. Help Ukraine sell those assets wherever. If it's money, just take it away, and help Ukraine to rebuild their country and so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay. There's been an interesting news that in London, speaking about Deripaska once again, 62 years old businessman Graham Bonham Carter helped Oleg Deripaska to actually circumvent sanctions, and apparently, United States will ask for extradition of this businessman, and he's facing up to 20 years of prison. And if you understand the surname Bonham Carter, that's a cousin of a famous actress. So that's interesting. And apparently he was helping Deripaska to circumvent sanctions for years, which is interesting. And he actually he talked about Deripaska in some, I'm assuming, either in leaked emails or in emails that were obtained by either court or something like that, by some for United States. I don't know who would be doing that. Whatever. Yeah, basically, this Graham Bonham Carter called Deripaska his boss in 2018, in 2021. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, and it's interesting that it's kind of a, well, I mean, I didn't know about this guy, right? But it's a high profile guy with a very famous cousin. It's kind of, I don't know, I feel like yeah, it's just like, I just saw this news today, and it's just like the story that is right now, it's just happening. Very interesting. So at least since like 2018, apparently this Bonham Carter was helping Deripaska. Mr. Bonham Carter is accused of engaging in more than $1 million or £900,000 worth of illicit transaction to fund real estate properties in the U.S. for Mr. Deripaska's benefit. Very interesting. Okay. And last good news, or at least interesting news, is the fact that presumably, hopefully, in Hague, um, a special tribunal is being set up to basically prosecute Putin for aggression against Ukraine. So this is just basically the beginning of it. But Oleg Gavrish, basically a member of the Ukrainian working group for creation of the special tribunal, has basically talked a little bit about this and explained that right now Ukraine, with help of several really great lawyers, are working to create the special tribunal, and that so that the International Criminal Court in Hague could actually review the case. Basically, the case would be to prosecute, or at least try to prosecute, Putin and basically what's called Soviet of Defense in Russia, Soviet of Security Council. Okay, Soviet, okay, whatever. Security Council in Russia, which has a lot of like high-profile, basically people, high-profile members, right? Putin, Medvedev, Nikolai Patrushev, Mishustin, Антон Войной, Сергей Иванов, Валентина Матвиенко, Володин, Шойгу, Лавров, Колокольцев, Бортников, Нарышкин, and non-permanent members. Like there is a list in Wikipedia, Security Council of Russia, and there is a list of all the cunts who are basically responsible for this war, because they were basically the last kind of a safety measure in a way, who could either start or stop this whole war, who could allow for Putin to actually use the troops. The decree that he signed was basically signed because basically the Security Council allowed Putin to use the Russian troops on the territory of Ukraine to undergo this, like as they call it, special operation, which is not a special operation; it's a war. So yeah, all these cunts are absolutely we're compliant, first of all, in this whole terrible, awful shit, and they're all responsible. And so yeah, I don't have much to say about this right now. There's this good article at current time that I will basically include. And yeah, some people already, some countries already have Ukrainian support, basically, or Ukraine has their support. It's all Baltic states, presumably Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, Great Britain, and like Ukrainian side is hoping that Switzerland, Iceland, Ireland, Canada, basically all European, they hope that all the countries of European Union will support this. United States, Japan, Australia, so on and so forth. And what it means is that, or what the implications would be, once again, up to like 30 years in prison, or maybe even lifetime sentence in prison for all these people, right? But also, like obviously, like you can't like just go to Russia, take these people out of Russia, right, and like extradite them to this court, unless obviously there will be some sort of a change in power in Russia at some point, and then these people will be, or you could at least send these people to this International Criminal Court to prosecute them. Otherwise, if they kind of land wherever in one of the countries where this presumably when it will happen, maybe in a year, maybe in a half a year, if it will even happen, this international court and so on. If and when it happens, if they land in that country, basically international police, Interpol, whatever, could issue, or this court could issue a warrant, and then if the person lands in a country that supported this resolution, this like special tribunal, then they could be just taken in that country into custody and then sent to the Netherlands, basically, to be put on trial. So yeah, let's hope that let's end on this like a good and sort of positive note. Let's hope this is exactly what will happen. Let's hope that more and more countries will agree on this, will actually realize and understand that this is basically exactly the situation with the Germany in 1939, whatever, and like, all these people are responsible. They should be prosecuted, and yeah, let's just hope it is going to be done, because this is it needs to be done. It has to be done. And these people who started this absolutely fucking bloody war, useless and needless, and just it's like I don't need to say anything about it. Like, all the regular reasonable people understand it. Wars are fucking terrible, right? And those cunts who actually don't understand this and who started them, they should be prosecuted. They should be punished for their decisions, for the deaths of thousands of people, which are on their hands. Okay, criticaldiscussions.net. Please support. If you can donate whatever, $5, $3, $10 would be really great. All the links are there. Subscribe to YouTube channel. I'm gonna be uploading full version of this, and you will probably see it there. Also, just watch YouTube channel. There are a lot of short clips. There will be short clips from this stream, for example, from this episode. Subscribe everywhere. criticaldiscussions.net. Once again, all the links are there. And once again, support if you can. Follow, share the videos, by the way, would be really helpful. Share the videos, share the audio if it's in the audio form, and follow on Twitch for kind of live version of this whole thing. Okay. Take care and stay safe, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.